Welcome to Flock Talk, the ultimate jam band community podcast, where the grooves are endless and the vibes are infectious. In this episode, the Femme Flock, Kara, Nikki, and myself, Jess, celebrate Pride by bringing you two amazing interviews with two of our incredible queer community members. In our first interview, the three of us are joined by our friend Asher, Deadhead, Phan and Goose fan, who talks to us about being a trans man in the scene. Then, Nikki and I interview Nikki's longtime friend Brian, an out Deadhead and fan for several decades. Happy Pride! Hi everyone, this is Jess, Nikki, and Kara, and we're here today with Asher. Hi Asher, welcome to Flock Talk.
Hello, thank you.
Why don't we start? You tell us about yourself. Who are you? Where are you coming from? What do you do?
So as you said, I'm Asher. I'm an ADHD coach living in St. Louis, huge jam band fan. And here today for a Pride Month episode because I'm also transgender.
Your pronouns are he, him.
Yes, correct.
You said you are a jam band fan. Can you tell us a bit about your journey? How did you get into the music, into the jam scene? How long have you been a part of the community?
Yeah, it's kind of a crazy story. I was late to the party. My first Fish show was at 30. I've always been a live music fan, and for a brief moment in time, there was this amazing social music site called turntable.fm. It does still exist, but not in the same way that it did before. It was just such a moment in time, and the whole premise of the site is you could upload your own music and play it for other people. And I made a friend who we shared a lot of the same love for like old school dad rock, Allman Brothers, and he would dig out like these old tapes that he had and upload them so we could listen to them. He'd be like, "Oh, I found this tape just labeled Clapton 77. I have no idea what's on it. Let's listen to it. I uploaded it. Let's listen to it." And so he finally asked me, "Why aren't you a Deadhead? Like that just doesn't make sense to me. It seems like you ought to be a Deadhead." And so via this social music site, he introduced me to the Dead, and I fell in love with the Dead. At the time, there wasn't much going on Dead-wise. Further was winding down. I actually did fly out to see them in LA with this friend in 2013. And saw my first Fish shows the next year in 2014, but I was dragged kicking and screaming into Fish. I was definitely I was one of those Deadheads that hated Fish before I loved Fish. But my first shows were in 2014 at Northerly Island and fell in love with Fish after that. Have seen them 70 plus times, have seen Goose upwards of 20 times. Love Dopapod is another big jam band that I like. So yeah, that's kind of my jam band history, if you will. So it feels like I was late to the party, but now I guess that was a decade ago. So I've been around a while.
Yeah, that's awesome. And by the way, being told you should be a Deadhead is a compliment. Huge compliment.
Completely changed my life, right? Like I'm glad that he saw that in me. And I'm glad that I have been exposed to music in this way because it really has changed everything about my life in so many ways.
Amen. Preach.
I identify with that.
Yeah, that's so funny. I was at my aunt's 70th birthday party the weekend of the Colorado shows a couple weeks ago, and there was a Deadhead there, and we all dressed up like the 70s. And this guy, he's just there with a Deadhead shirt, like a Grateful Dead shirt. And I was like, "Oh, you like Grateful Dead?" And he was like, "Yeah, do you?" And I was like, "No, I'm a Goose fan." He was like, "You should listen to the Dead." He's like, "I've never heard Goose."
You should listen to the Dead, but it's really overwhelming to get into, which is why being able to do it in this very social way where I'm talking to my friend about the music as it's playing, and he's asking me what I like. So he kind of curated different things to introduce me in a very specific way is really helpful. So you just need to find yourself an old head who will take you on the journey because it's definitely worth going on.
Nikki said,
a lot of work.
I see a volunteer in the room. So
yeah. Nikki always gets really frustrated because she'll make references or send things. And she's like, "Did you listen to it?"
No,
constantly.
It's like, no, we no.
Everything stems from. That's where all of our music stem from. It's like if you think of a big tree, the roots are the Dead, and everything else is growing from there. Because without the Dead, there would be no Fish. I really don't think there would be. I know they say they're not, but I don't think there would be the bands we have now without the Dead. And I think a lot of people would agree.
No, Andrew's very into the Dead, and he still hasn't educated me. It's a point of contention.
Wait, point of contention, how?
Because
You
then Nikki
resist.
gets
Who's
mad
falling
at
down
me.
on the job?
Well, Nikki gets mad at me because I don't know, and then I blame Andrew, who gets mad at me because I don't listen when he talks about the dead. And I'm
And
like,
then I get mad at Andrew that he's not like tying her to a chair and forcing her to listen to like Cornell or something.
because he went on tour with Further, actually. You guys are probably at the same show, 2012, 2013, one of those years. And so his whole journey into the jam scene was the dead and so on. So
Yeah, which is why he and I hit it off so well when we
right.
met up Saturday night at the Capitol Theater to try and get our sorry selves in the door.
They're like magnets. They always attract each other. It's like you can't help it.
Yeah. You were there when Andrew and I met. You were a big part of our origin story. So
That was so crazy to hear almost over a year later, I think, at SPAC. And he didn't tell me. It was a total surprise. He told me he was there. He came and found me, and then he's like, I have some people that you know. Come with me. And I'm like, who do we mutually know? We know each other, and that's it. And then he brought me over, and there you were with the friend that you were waiting outside with.
yeah, my friend Andy, who introduced me to Goose. So it all comes full circle, which is really wild.
I love that. I love that.
So speaking of the Cap, can you talk to us just about like coming out and the transition? And then I feel like the Cap shows were some big shows for you.
They were, but I'm actually going to back it up and talk about the St. Louis show. And I don't remember exactly when it was. It was at the pageant, and it must have been it had to have been fall of 2022. And it was in this weird in-between period for me where I knew. And I had told my inner circle and was kind of in process of coming out to my inner circle. I definitely knew I couldn't put the girl clothes back on, but I was just kind of hiding in my house because I didn't know what to do. Didn't know what transition looked like yet. I was still very much in the trans panic state. So under any other circumstances, I just would not have gone to this show. But here's this band that I adore playing a venue that I've been to, gosh, hundreds of times in my life. I've seen so many shows there, 10 minutes from my house. So
How could
I
you
thought,
not?
yeah, how can I not? But at the same time, what do I do? How can I feel comfortable enough in my skin, knowing I'm not ready to come out yet, knowing I'm going to be running into people that I know? And so I had already cut my hair short. And I thought a lot about how can I feel good enough about this? And so I have these, and you've actually never seen them because it was too cold at the Cap shows, but I have these flowy tie-dye pants that I wear to almost every jam show I go to. I'm kind of known for them. And I decided, you know what, those can be gender neutral. I'm just gonna wear those. And I wore a very subtle trans pride t-shirt. It's a cat with sunglasses, and in the sunglasses is the trans pride flag.
I love that.
And the reason I wanted to talk about this show is because the response to that was really encouraging. Meaning, I didn't ever say we were talking to some guys in line, and their buddies had gotten in. There's a bar you can wait in at the pageant if you arrive early enough, but it was full, so their buddies were in the bar. We went inside and found a spot with some different guys. Ended up being the guys that the guys outside were waiting for. So now we're talking to a group of like 15 or 20 people that we've never met before. And I was just noticing really subtle things. Like these people don't know me, but there was an awareness there, meaning when they referred to me, they referred to me as they, which if you don't know, and I'm signaling that I'm trans, in my opinion, is a good way to go, right? And just little things like that, or in the bathroom. You know how lovely women, I'm gonna miss the women's room at jam shows so much because so many awesome women being awesome to women things happen in that bathroom, and nothing awesome happens in the men's room. Like nothing.
You're welcome in there anytime.
Nothing awesome happens in the men's
Yeah.
room. So I'm standing in line, and a girl comes out of the stall, and she's doing the thing, right, where she's going down the line of people and complimenting everybody's everything, right? Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, that's this. And when she got to me, like it was just a very, again, subtle language change, but it was like she used genderless language with me. And so I was so afraid to go to that show, and I was so concerned about coming out to the jam community in general. I didn't know if I would. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But that first show was a really encouraging experience because I was like, wow, people are hip to this. And there are more queer people at Goose shows than you think there are. Like, queer signaling is such an important thing. If you're an ally, a pride pin can make a huge difference because when you walk into a show, particularly if you're going alone, and you see safety, it's not all that different than the yellow stickers, right? For the fellowship or the hot tea party, it's signaling safety. And, you know, if something happens, we see you, we're here for you. And I noticed a lot of that too, that I'd never really tuned into before. Like, wow, there's a lot of queer symbolism all around me.
I feel like that's such a big underlying theme of jam, the love and inclusivity and the focus on like making sure everyone is safe and has a safe space.
Yeah, it was a really positive experience. And I will say that I don't think that would have been true 5, 10 years ago when I first got into jam. If I was coming out in that period of time, I think a lot has shifted in that time. So one of the things that I did before I came out, deciding what I was going to do with my jam band Twitter, was I just going to delete it. It doesn't exist anymore, but not because I'm trans, because Twitter is a cesspool now.
Yep.
And kind of a useless website, unfortunately. I really miss the jam community there for sure. But in deciding what I was going to do, one of the people I reached out to is the person who runs, and I don't remember her name. And unfortunately, since I deleted the Twitter account, I can't look back through our DMs to find it. But if you're familiar with the Mike Side, Dyke Side women, I actually first encountered them, two of their crew at the bathrooms at Alpine Valley at Fish in 2019. And I said something about their shirts. And I said, you know, as an ally at the time, right? As an ally, am I allowed to wear those shirts? And they were like, oh my gosh, we're actually both cishet, right? But that's why we wear them. It's about creating an environment of safety and inclusivity. And so people like them and others who have spearheaded efforts, women in the jam community. There was a huge thing. I think it was also around, my timelines get kind of screwy, but somewhere between like 2017 and 2019, there was a post that was made on Reddit from a woman who had a horrible experience at a jam show, right? In terms of unwanted sexual harassment. And that kicked off a huge conversation in the community, and not necessarily a kumbaya hands holding one either, right? You guys know how this community can be, especially online. And so the trolls definitely came out in force, but there were also people with platforms saying, what can we do? So RJ, who is now Osiris Media, but he was doing Helping Friendly Pod at the time. He may still be. I don't know. I don't I don't keep up on everything. Had several women, including hilariously enough me, not a woman, but thought I was at the time, on the Helping Friendly podcast to talk about our experiences at shows. And then my friend Ashley founded Groove Safe, which I'm sure you all are familiar with because they now partner with Goose. That came out of that incident as she saw a need for this and founded that organization. And I actually worked the table at Dick's in 2019. And I'm not going to lie, Ashley, if you're listening to this, I would tell this to your face. I wasn't entirely sure that this organization could make a difference. But just sitting at that table and having cishet men approach me and ask what it was about and explain it to them, there's an awareness there that wasn't there before. Like, oh, I had no idea that women experience this. I had no idea that this was a problem. So there's been a lot of efforts, and there's so many more people, but those are the two that stand out in my journey that have really raised the consciousness of the jam band community in a way that I think that's why I get to tell such a happy story about my first show as a transgender person coming to see Goose and not knowing how that's going to go or how I'm going to be received.
That's great to hear. And I think a lot of the mentality with the jam community comes from the dead, with so many people coming from different backgrounds. I think that's why there's so many backgrounds. You've got businessmen, you've got lawyers, you've got bankers, you've got housewives, you've got teachers, you got everybody coming together for one purpose, I think the mentality is all are welcome. And I think that kind of helps people like yourself that don't know what's going on or how they're going to be perceived, is that you just want to get it right. You just want somebody to come. That's all you want, is you want people to come. So the more people that are there and feel welcome, you make an effort for them to feel comfortable. And I think that's where that stems from. And it makes me very proud. That's why I love our community. I know there's a lot of shit that goes on in drama. We are the drama people. However, I think our ability to accept people as they are when they come to a show, no matter who, what, where, when they came from, is a big part of the ability to make people feel welcome like that. And it melts my heart to hear that, because I just love it, especially in a women's bathroom. That's the best place in a jam band show for the most part. If you need help, or if you need to feel comfortable, or if you're just needing a minute, if you go there, you are going to find hearts that will help you every single time.
If you're not feeling confident about your outfit, just go in there and someone's going to compliment you and then put glitter on you.
Exactly.
I have both helped and been helped so many times in a women's bathroom at a jam show. And honestly, do have to say that up until recently, have been using the women's room, which is a complicated thing when you're trans, right? For me, it comes down, it used to be about which bathroom am I least likely to get hate crimed in. At jam shows, I don't worry about that nearly as much, but I figure, hey, if it's already a question of which bathroom should I be using, why don't I go ahead and use the one with the shorter line? Like, I might as well get something out of all of this angst and anxiety. So I'm just going to dip into the women's room because there's never a line.
Sometimes
actually,
at Goose shows, that's not true.
Yeah.
Goosemas, we had to wait in line.
Yeah, the line still wasn't nearly as bad for the women as it was for the men.
Long. Bummed.
At Louisville, I was actually switching bathrooms because it depended on when I went to the bathroom. So I just, again, whichever one didn't have a line, that was my bathroom.
Asher, I do have a question about that. If you travel for a show, does that impact your decision on where you do decide to go? So like if you're, I know Goose doesn't play in Florida or the South that often, but if like, say you wanted to go to the Atlanta shows, would that like impact your decision to, use the male bathroom or the women's bathroom?
So it's a great question. Would it impact my decision to go? Only to states like Florida, really only to Florida, because Florida is so unique in that someone could call the police on me for using the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty lucky that I have a pretty disarming personality. So absent that, if I ever did run into a situation where I was having trouble or someone confronted me, I feel like I could handle it well enough and diffuse the situation if I needed to. But those very restrictive laws certainly do factor into my decision making to a point. However, I did just go to the Indianapolis show and didn't feel any kind of way about it. Didn't feel any kind of way about stopping in the middle of nowhere because number one, most people are not paying attention to you. They're paying attention to themselves. So I find that my energy sort of matches what happens, meaning if I'm acting nervous and like I don't belong, people are going to notice me like I'm nervous and I don't belong. If I walk into the men's room like I belong there, nobody is going to look twice at me walking into the men's room, especially at this point of my transition. Does it have an impact? To a degree? Yes. And it had a bigger impact earlier in my transition, right? You don't know what you don't know when you come out and you're navigating this space where just introducing myself up until really recently. Like I'm just really recently with this new haircut starting to suddenly experience being gendered correctly by strangers more often than not. A guy walked up to me in line at Indianapolis and said, "Hey fellas." The rest of that sentence was there's a shorter line over there for people with no bags, but he went, "Hey fellas." And I was like, "Oh, you called me fella."
That's amazing.
But navigating this space where when I look at you and say, "Hi, I'm Asher," that's going to throw up questions. That's going to out me as trans, right? There's no way for it not to. Particularly at my age, I'm never going to be stealth. It's always going to be known that I'm trans to some degree, and it's something that you can get really in your head about and really overly concerned about. I took up kickboxing shortly after I started testosterone because fun fact, trans guys often lose the ability to cry. Now, I'm sure you all can appreciate like a good healing cry, like when you just
Oh yes.
you just need to let it out. So imagine just never being able to do that
Oh.
again during a pretty difficult time in my life. And so I needed another outlet. I needed an emotional outlet. And two, it was like, what can I focus on in my transition, right? I can't make testosterone work any faster than it works. Second puberty is exactly like first puberty, and that it's all based on your genetics. So what you get and when, uh, it's just luck of the draw, and you just have to wait it out. It could take 5 years, it could take 10 years, right? It just depends. And so what can I control? So I took up kickboxing, and everyone I kickbox with, by the way, they're all like beautiful, ripped, cishet men. Most of them compete and fight, and they're amazing. I found amazing community there, but it was something I was self-selecting out of, right? I was not participating. I was not engaging because I was up in my head feeling weird about my transness. And the moment I realized that and let it go, like I realized that these guys have always treated me like a bro. They've never made me feel othered. And so, yeah, it's kind of one of those things that there's no way out but through, I guess is the point that I'm trying to make. Early transition days are just tough. They're just tough in so many ways that you can be in your head. So a year ago, 2 years ago, would I be making show decisions based on bathroom safety specifically, and state safety? Absolutely. Today, absent Florida, and I haven't really looked at what other states. By the way, great resource for other trans people listening. Erin in the morning, if you Google Erin in the morning, she keeps a map of trans safety in different states, and she tracks all the legislation that is happening. So if I was going to go to a state where I didn't know the state of things and thought I might need to look it up, that is the resource that I would look at today before making that decision.
Hey, and I do have to say, that's the best freaking way to get your emotions out is beating the heck out of a bag. I'm super impressed that you thought about that.
Yeah. I think we should all get together sometime and go to a rage room
My
and
daughter
just
just
beat the
did
shit
it.
out of things.
My daughter
Let's
just
do
did
it.
She said it's fantastic. Like she just went through a breakup. So she's like, I got the bat, mom. I'm like, awesome.
Yeah, it's such a great outlet. And if you find the right place, like I would encourage anyone to take up a combat sport. I think
Absolutely.
it's a great outlet, and I am functionally fit in a way that I've never been in my life at almost 40.
Right on. I love that. I'm all for exercising when you're upset and you have a lot of stress and emotions. I've always been one to jump on a treadmill or get on an elliptical or go for a run or something because it really does. That physical will help you work the emotional out. I'm 100% behind you.
Interestingly enough, that was never me, even though I know how beneficial that is. I'm an ADHD coach for a living, so movement, fitness, that's support for a lot of my clients, and I could make that connection cognitively, but as a person living in the wrong body who didn't know it, I was really disconnected from my body. So that's been the other unexpected cool thing about taking up kickboxing is it's like I'm becoming connected to my body in a way that I've never been in my life.
That's fantastic.
So Jess, you were asking about the cap shows. We kind of left off at I came out on Twitter. And by the way, that went amazingly well. I actually called another friend of mine, trans woman, who I know her from the fish scene, because I hadn't been to a fish show yet, and I was particularly worried about fish fans because that leans even more cishet male than other jam shows. And she was encouraging, so I went ahead and went for it and got nothing but positive response and love. And not too long after that, that was November of 22. We're at the cap shows in what was it, like March of 23?
Yeah.
You and I met night 4 of the March show, so I want to say that was March 11th. Yeah,
Wow,
23.
good memory. March
the day I
something.
met Andrew.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
Right.
guess that is an important. Oh my gosh, I really am like cemented in your memory forever.
You really are a huge part of my life.
I love that.
Asher's the one who gave Andrew his ticket to come in, and if Andrew didn't have a ticket to come in, we would not be here today.
Oh, you're the
Because
reason.
Andrew introduced me to Kara and Nikki.
As we were walking to the cap, I said, okay, let's do this teamwork style. I had already been to the first 3 shows and I was going to Sunday. He missed the first 1 or 2, I think.
Yes, he missed the first 2. He did Friday and then was like, I guess I'll go Saturday, Sunday, but it wasn't, he didn't have a ticket. He just kind of wung it.
Sure. And so it was like, since you're doing less shows, let's make this teamwork style. First ticket is yours, right? That way it's not an awkward moment where we find one together and it's like, okay, who's going to get it? And I was actually separated from him when I found it. I was talking to this couple and asking them what they were going to do if they didn't get another ticket and telling them that I thought it was much more difficult. That show was impossible. I got the last ticket through the door.
When we saw you inside, we celebrated because you literally changed my life and I wanted you in there with me.
The staff, as I was running into the staff that was all working the door in their inside posts, like here, there, and everywhere, like they were high-fiving me. It was really funny. We're all outside for what, 4 or 5 hours looking for tickets. And we found Andrews pretty early because I was talking to that couple and just asking them, what are you going to do if you don't get a second one? Is somebody going to go in? No, we're going to go back to our hotel room and get takeout and we're going to get the stream. And as I was talking to them, they were like, you know what? That actually sounds really nice. We're just going to give you our ticket right here and now. And it was another couple that did wait it out until they started playing that was like, okay, we give up.
Them.
We're gonna they were the ones that were gonna give their ticket to Andrew, and I had forgotten about them until I walked back up because I was talking to the one other person that was waiting. She did not get in that night either. And
my friend?
No, not your friend. It was another person that I made friends with.
Andy was not Andrew, but Andy. She was waiting for a ticket. And then when she didn't get one, but Andrew did, that's when we connected and went in.
Yeah. And she left like right about the time they started playing, if not a little bit before.
Was very sad. It's still we're sad about it. They played 726. That's the only song she's never seen Goose play of their entire catalog. And it's still bitter.
Listen, the flip side of that is it's nice to have something to chase, I think. Exactly. So
tell her that.
Yeah.
She'll listen. Tell her that.
She has a shit list. Like, it's pretty serious. And that's like the one thing on her shit list. That's it. She has nothing else on her shit list.
Just that.
The fact that Goose has still not played 726 for her.
726 is the bomb too.
So coming into the cap shows, I had been on testosterone for like 2 or 3 months. And I was out publicly. It was very, very early. And I decided, you know what? And this was with the Mike side dykes in mind, decided that I would wear trans pride shirts every night. And, you know, that whole thing of, hey, I'm Asher, and you see the question mark on someone else's face. And you all know what a social butterfly I am. I've met both of you at Goose shows, just being myself, right? That I thought that might be a nice signal that like, hey, yes, I'm trans, like let's be kind of obvious about it. And so I wore trans pride shirts all 5 nights. And people were really kind. People had a lot of questions for me, and I am an open book. Although I will say that I didn't really understand emotional labor until coming out as trans, because I'm an open book and I love talking about my experience, but you know, sometimes I've learned, and so if I can impart anything onto other trans people, like set your own boundaries here. You know, there have been times where I've looked at somebody and said, that's a great question, and you didn't offend me. I'd be happy to answer it for you sometime, but I'm just here to like enjoy the show like you are right now. And so I do not want to talk about it, coupled with the fact that less than 1 in 3 people know a trans person. So in an environment like that, where you're meeting and chatting up people, particularly, again, I'm wearing pride, it's early transition. So it's very, very obvious. It's very front of mind for me. You might be asking me a question that I've been asked 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 times in the last 5 days. And it's like, I was getting sick of listening to myself talk about myself and transition. But gosh, I was just so overwhelmingly positive. People were just like supportive and congratulatory, which, by the way, that is the only correct way to respond when a trans person comes out, is congratulations. Like, just say congratulations.
People say something else?
Well, people,
Like, is it like the divorce thing where you like people would think that they have to say, "Oh, I'm sorry," or is it just
It's
like
not like that, and I've been through a friendly divorce, so I know what you mean by that. My ex-husband is still my best friend. In fact, after this interview, we are going out to lunch for Father's Day, which we now share and celebrate together. It's not quite
awesome?
like that. It's more it people just don't know what they know, and so responses can get a little, again, they can go into that emotional labor thing where they jump in and start asking questions right away.
You end up becoming like the token trans person. So any question I have about transitioning is going to go to you because
Yeah, or but just say congratulations. That's all you need to say. So yeah, those shows really sort of cemented for me that, like, yes, this is a community I'll stay involved in, and this is safe for me. And in the places that I may run into that it may not be safe for me in the future, that's something I'm willing to be a part of in terms of making it better for everyone. And I meant to say this earlier when we were talking about bathrooms and my decision making, and I do want to say it now. I do have some privilege here. Um, Actual like transphobes, like people looking to be violent or awful to trans people, are not looking for me. They are looking for trans women,
Yeah.
right? So I have the ability to sort of be invisible and to blend in, right? Had I not been wearing trans pride shows at the Cap, and it didn't matter at the Cap because they had single stall bathrooms, which were amazing. But if it did matter at the Cap, um, you know, at that time somebody would look at me and maybe think I'm just a really masculine woman, right? I've used that code switching to my advantage, but that's because I have the privilege of being a little less visible. Like, people just don't and that's not to say a friend of mine who's a trans woman and I were having this conversation. It was a bit of like a friendly argument of, she said, I hate it when trans men say that trans women have it worse, because trans men are pretty invisible and that comes with its challenges too. But I still stand by the fact that she's got it worse, right? In terms of like safety and being out in the world. I know trans women who have had awful things said to them just out living their lives. That has never once happened to me because people don't know that they're looking at a trans person when they're looking at me. They might just think they're looking at a really ugly woman who has a facial hair problem, right? Especially in those just your face, especially in those early days. Like, that was really tough when I first started tea, and it's like, oh no, now I just look like an older, uglier woman than before. I think I'm over that hump now, but man, that was a hard thing to grapple with. Like, yikes.
my roommate is a trans woman. We met back in college before her transition, and it's been something that like I've been watching her and supporting her through the last couple of years. And it's just been really interesting to see like what her thought process is when she leaves the house. We're very lucky we live in New York City. It's one of the better places to live as a queer person, but we have pepper spray, we have safe places, we have things we don't do at night by ourselves, and just being aware of our surroundings is really important because the world is not super accepting, and it's something I have never been that close to, and it's become something important to me now because I love her and I support her, and our house is a very safe space here, and I make sure that people know that when they come over, like, our house is a safe space. It's inclusive. We have pride flags everywhere, trans flags everywhere, and it's just been really interesting to be so close to her in such an interesting time in her life. And that second puberty thing is very real. There's moments where I'm like, that's what I was like when I was 13. And it's been fascinating because I have not had anyone close to me that's transitioned before. So
Yeah, it does make a difference to be able to see it up close. And I see that in the people around me, which is why that sort of my takeaway from the Cap was, because I am a social butterfly. I love to talk to anyone and everyone. Um, and what I do for a living in coaching, there's this coaching skill called modeling, right? And the idea is you are modeling for your clients. That's one of the things that you do. So I also have ADHD, and I model for my clients things like success and struggle can go hand in hand. I don't paint some beautiful picture that's a lie for them. I show them what's real. I tell them what's real. Um, And that's the concept that I kind of take out just in my life as well is, again, less than 1 in 3 people know a trans person. And so if I'm just modeling that I'm just a person living my life like anyone else, and living a pretty like fulfilling and happy life at that, then that's a form of advocacy, right? I don't do advocacy work specifically in terms of being trans, but I see that as a form of advocacy.
Oh, for sure. So, in your experience, I know you said that there's a lot of emotional labor that goes into it, and I definitely feel that. What does support and allyship look like to you? I think, there's like the broad concept, and I think most people are usually pretty aware of how to be an ally, but what does that look like for you? And like, what can we do to be a support and allies for the trans community and the concert scene?
I think first and foremost, it's treating me like a human first, right? Trying to put yourself in my shoes when you can. Something that really touched me is a few months ago, my best friend from high school turned 40, and we've remained friends. He's the only person I talked to from high school, but we have remained friends throughout. And he sent me a text inviting me to a bar for his 40th birthday. And the location in our area is one where I'm like, am I going to get hate crime there? And so I just texted him back and I said, I definitely want to come. Am I going to get hate crimed in that location? Because it's kind of like on the cusp of like okay and not okay in terms of where it is. And it really just kind of depends on what kind of crowd does this place draw. And he responded, I already thought of that. I went and checked out several places. I talked to the owners of this place in particular, and their 2 bathrooms are both gender neutral. It just warmed my heart because, it's, and just you have a bird's eye view into this. It's just there's so many things all the time that I have to be thinking about that a cis person doesn't, that when somebody kind of takes that extra step of thinking ahead for me, considering what my experience might be like, that's really amazing. But aside from that, like just at a show, if we meet, like just talk to me like you talk to any other dude that you're chatting up buying a beer, right? Don't necessarily presume to dive in. Now, I'm an open book. So if you meet me specifically, Asher, at a show and I am in the mood, by all means, you can pepper me with questions about my trans experience. And I'm happy to either answer them or tell you, hey, I am too stoned or too out of it or too like in my feels today about being trans or whatever to have this conversation with you right now here today. But it is okay that you asked. But in general, right, just trans people are just people, right? And by the way, it's awkward for everyone, right? That moment of like, oh gosh, those early transition days where people don't know what my pronouns are, like just ask. You don't have to make it weird. If I say I'm Asher, like say, okay, like probably the best response I've ever gotten is, okay, pronouns, right? Like no big deal, he, him, and then we move on, right?
We've seen companies nowadays like including pronouns in your email signatures and just like making sure that like everyone, cis people too, like making it more of a norm to introduce yourself with your pronouns, to not ostracize people as well. I work at a very queer office, so it's very normal when someone introduces themselves. Hi, I'm Jess. My pronouns are she, her, but whatever they are, we just make it part of our daily conversation because especially where I live in Brooklyn, like you can't assume anything.
Absolutely. And that's a great philosophy. It's just don't assume anything, right? It's okay to ask. Like trans people are keenly aware of the awkwardness of transition, okay, and keenly aware of our passing or not passing. So just rip the band-aid off and ask, and don't make a big freaking deal of it if you do need to rip the band-aid off and ask, right? Better yet, if you know somebody in common, ask them. Ask them and get the information that way. But what absolutely not to do is, if you don't know or if you mess up, don't follow all over yourself apologizing. It happens. It happens, right? I get mammed today. It happens.
When I met you, I think I misgendered you, and of course I felt terrible. And I think I was that person who overstepped and probably apologized too many times. So again, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for that second part.
Was that just a meta
I'm
apology?
sorry.
The apologizing for the
Sorry
apologize.
about
For the
being
apologies.
sorry.
But yeah, it's that was actually one of our questions too, is like, what advice do you have for people who may misgender? So I really like that you brought that up. So
Yeah,
thank
it
you.
happens. And here's what I tell the people
Yeah.
in my life, because it's even a different thing if you know a person before they come out and after they come out, as Jess knew her roommate, right?
It was so difficult.
You've known somebody one way for so long. My little sibling, you know the Spider-Man meme where the two Spider-Mans are, yeah. So the phone call in which I came out to my little sibling was literally that, because we came out to each other in the same, we both had something to talk about, and we came out to each other in the same phone call, right? Yeah, right,
Wow.
right.
Amazing.
They came out as non-binary, and it took me a while, right? Especially if I was, off the cuff, just talking about the last time they visited or whatever. Like, it was very easy to revert back to their, even doing it now, I'm having to think about it a little bit, revert back to their old pronouns. Because
It's a brain wiring
it's a
thing.
brain
It's your
wiring thing. You've known, so I tell my friends and family, like the people who are in my life, like, you've known me one way a long time. Like, you're gonna mess up. I mess up. So you're definitely gonna mess up. And if you mess up, if you hear it in the moment, correct yourself so that you're rewiring your brain. But if you remember like 2 hours later, like, don't call me or text me apologizing about it. Like, it happens. It's not a big deal. Like, and if it becomes a big deal, I'll let you know, right? Like, which has never happened with me, but just retrain your brain, but otherwise you don't have to be so stressed about it. It's something that does happen. And even talking about myself in the past, like, it feels, because I lived 38 years as a woman.
Yeah. Do you ever misgender yourself?
Oh my gosh, talking about myself in the past, it feels like I have two choices. I can either tell the story as it happened, or I can like translate the story, which feels like a lot more work, right? Because my friend didn't
Right?
say, "Hey, Ash," right? No, that's not what they said. They said, "Hey, Shell," because that's what they would have said at that time. So a lot of times if I'm with people I know like that, I just don't even bother translating, right? Because I lived 38 years one way. So I don't know. That's my personal choice, right? I don't speak for any trans person but me when I talk about how I talk about myself in the past, but you know.
That's interesting, because I didn't even think about that. That part of it is that you're dressing yourself as in a story before as you were then, and how your brain processes that is going to be set in a memory.
Right. And lived a whole life as that, right?
And lived a whole life a different way. So now you're trying to train yourself to think about that in a different way from different eyes. So that would be so difficult to process. So people don't even think about that stuff. That's why I love that this stuff comes up, because as a cis person, I don't think about that thing with other people. So knowing that you're going, all the different things you have to go through is very obvious to me. Some people it's not, but this is one that I was like, you just said that, and I'm like, my brain just exploded a little bit. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's gotta be an ordeal to put up within your own little brain, along with the 9 million other things you have to put up with. So I appreciate these conversations to enlighten somebody as myself. And I don't have transitioning people around me at all. I'm in freaking Midwest bullshit. So
I mean, me too.
We're
everywhere.
We have a lot of colleges, and I do see a lot of different types of people, which is nice, but I work in freaking South Bend, and there's nobody in my work that there's like, I don't even think there's anybody that's gay that I work with. I mean, there's nobody that's queer.
They just not be out.
But that's the thing, is that type of society does not embrace it. So they just aren't going to bring it up. I'm in a warehouse.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's very masculine warehouse.
Very few protections there.
Yeah.
And,
so I'm okay with that, because it's not my job to make these people any better, but it's also my job to be aware. So that's what I just try to do, is be aware and to think of all the different aspects that people have to deal with within their lives when they go through changes like this. Is like, it just helps me see it better and understand better, and cultivate awareness and empathy and sympathy and everything that I need to come up with to be a good person for everybody. So I love these types of conversations.
Well, and this is where signaling, if you want to do something, some signaling, right?
Yeah.
Just some subtle, and it doesn't have to be anything big. You don't have to like put up a big pride flag. I was gonna say in your cubicle, but you said you work at a winter house, but like
and
a pin or a sticker or something that says,
totally
hey,
do that.
you are a safe person for me. Prior to my own coming out as an ADHD coach, things like having my pronouns in my bio. I had a disproportionate amount of queer clients even before coming out because those subtle signals, it's not even about the signal itself. It's not even about the fact that the pronouns are there. It's more about, okay, you're somebody who like
who's aware.
We can shortcut all of the how much or how little do I have to worry about who I am in engaging with you, wanting to work with you as my coach.
Yep.
Right. So if you want to do something in that environment, the best thing you can do is just throw up some subtle signals.
And I wrote that down because I want.
And even if you never ever hear from a queer person that they mattered, I guarantee you they did. I walked into St. Louis this year, night one, by myself. And I'm trying to grow this. And unfortunately, like a lot of this hair is gray. My first beard's going to be gray. Like,
oh no, mine is too though.
So you can't really see how much hair is up here because it's all very light on camera. But I'm trying to grow a goatee, and it's going decently well. My friend who used to be a barber is encouraging me to keep it going, and so thus. Back to the things that trans people have to think about, thus begs the question, I'm going by myself to St. Louis night one. I'm not on any kind of social media anymore, which means I don't really know how to find out who's going where unless there's somebody that I talk to specifically. So do I keep this or do I let it go in favor of that being able to kind of code switch if I feel like I need to? And I decided not to. And I walked in, and one of the first people I saw was a lovely furry. She was wearing her tail and her ears, and she had a pride hat on, and she had a pride bag. And it was like, I just took a deep breath. I never even talked to her, but I just took a deep breath, and I'm like, all right, I'm not the only queer person in the visibly queer person in the room. It is okay. I can take a breath. So even if you never hear that it matters, like seeing that stuff out in the world, particularly in places where it's not so safe, can create that element of safety. So you were asking what allies can do, right? Add a pride pin if you're a pin wearer, like throw a pride sticker on wherever you keep your stickers. So yeah, more than anything, that's what you could do, right? Is you can signal. And one thing I will speak to really quickly is I often have cishet friends ask, is it okay as a cis person to sport the trans flag, right, as an ally? And my answer is yes, but. Yes, you absolutely can. But how are you going to respond if somebody thinks you are trans? Right? Because if your response is going to be like, oh no, not me, right? Then maybe you shouldn't be sporting the trans flag. But if you are comfortable with that, then yes, absolutely. You can absolutely sport the trans flag as an ally. And it's always makes me happy to see it anywhere I go.
Thank you. Because I do like my daughter is bi. I try to be as open as I can that I'm an ally for people. I don't care. Like I always say, and I told this to Brian, I don't give a shit who you like, what you want to be, who you aren't. I don't care about any of that, but your music opinions is what I'm going to judge you on.
And political opinions.
Music opinions. Political, I can still get over. But your music, you want a bad talk fish, you want a bad talk goose, and we're going to have conversation. So that's me.
So we wanted to give you the platform to talk a bit about this new coaching group that you've mentioned to us. So would you mind talking a bit about that?
Yeah. So as I said earlier, I'm an ADHD coach, and I've been doing this for a long time, over a decade now. And got into this career path by virtue of how coaching really did transform my life as a neurodivergent person. Going through transition and having this busy brain, right? You know, it's like your whole context when you're 38, and I didn't know until I knew. Like it was like a sudden like, bing. Oh, maybe that's why you feel like an alien in your own skin all the time. I more or less, I joke that I basically did every other bit of work I could do on myself to back myself into the corner of finding this answer. And so my brain's a busy place because my whole context is different. not just moving forward, but for my first 38 years of life. And it's something that I'm relentlessly curious about. I'm ruminating about. Sometimes sometimes it's out of curiosity, sometimes it's rumination or shame or whatever. And I find that a lot of the same coaching work that I do with clients with ADHD has been serving me in my own process of figuring out who I am and who I want to be, right? Um, because if you go to the internet as a trans person, right, you're gonna become neurotic about like the right way to be trans or the right way to be this gender or the right way to be this or the right way to be that. And I find that sort of stepping away from that and figuring out what's true for me has really made a difference. And so I'm trying something on, right? This is a bit of an experiment, okay? But if you go to my website, coachdasher.com, and as of this recording, it's not up yet, but there will be on the top, there will be several links, and next to the purpose course, which is currently there will be another link for this coaching group open to transgender, non-binary, gender fluid people in transition who think you might benefit from some self-discovery and some sort of examining what is true for you as a trans person. So if that's something that you're interested in, and by the way, I'm doing this at half the price that I normally do my coaching groups because it is a little experimental. But I think this has a lot of promise. So if that's something that you're interested in, click that link. It'll take you to a page where you can submit an application. And the application is really intended to start that process of what has your attention as a trans person coming into this coaching group. What, if we're embarking on this journey of self-discovery, what are you hoping to get out of it? And I can certainly tell you, having done numerous coaching groups with people with ADHD, there is something so powerful about hearing your lived experience that you feel so alone in coming out of someone else's mouth, right? So it's not just about coming to get your own coaching. It's a real community experience where you get to be in a room with people struggling with the same things that you are struggling with. It might have different language around it. It might not all be parallel, but man, there is just something really powerful about being able to listen to other people in that very vulnerable way, talk about what it's like for them to live this experience.
Having a queer community is so important. And it's something I actually talk with my roommate about a lot, because it is such a lonely experience. Like the mental and then the actual physical transition, it takes a toll. And it's not something people talk about openly. It's not something that like you can just like go up to someone and start like digging into. And so having that community, having people who understand like from a first person experience, and then also just having support is something that I think everyone should have, but also queer people need to have, because our lived experience is so different than a cishet person.
Absolutely. I have found queer community, interestingly enough, in the leather community. I'm also gay.
That doesn't surprise me. The leather community.
Yeah, that was a big question mark for me, is how accepted will I be amongst gay men? Is there community there for me?
What is a leather community? I'm not familiar with that term.
I'm trying to think of a short answer for that.
I can kind of figure it out in my head, but I'm just saying that because if I'm the only one, there's probably other people as well.
It's part of the kink community, BDSM culture, and gay men and
Chaps.
biker culture, and it's an intersection of a lot of things.
Yeah, it's this interesting intersection. So it definitely, there are elements of kink, but more so than that, the history of leather is really rooted in think of leather as maybe like the opposite or the other side of the coin from like drag, because the leather communities became a place for masculine gay men who maybe aren't finding their place among traditionally more feminine or into, into pop culture, into pop music, into those types of things.
Yeah.
That's sort of at the root of what leather is. Now, I didn't know that I didn't know anything about leather walking into my first experience with the leather community, but we are now many, many months later, and I've really found a home there. And I'm not just found a home there. Something talk right back to hearing your lived experience come out of someone else's mouth. It's really been sort of affirming and or healing for me to get to have vulnerable conversations with other gay men, particularly cis gay men, and realize that we're not so different in what we think about and what we struggle with, right? I worry about my body and I worry about this. Well, they do too, right? Like those struggles have more in common than they don't. And that's been really amazing for me.
Thank you for explaining.
Something that like in that same vein is really important to me is just like queer liberation means sexual liberation. And I'm a big proponent of like BDSM and kink at Pride because gay sex was a felony for so long. And I think the intersection of kink and queerness is one and the same. So I'm a big proponent of kink at Pride. It's which is
Absolutely, me
controversial to
too.
some people, but
Sure, right. The whole like, oh no, what will people think, right? That's a slippery slope into that pick me attitude of well, I'm queer, but not like that, right? Not like those people. And one of the things that I really appreciate about the Leather Society that I'm in the process of joining is it's open to everybody, right? It's not a men's exclusive society. There are women and non-binary people, gender fluid people. So yeah, it's been a great source of self-discovery in a number of ways. Number one, finding community. Number two, I was missing a huge piece of information about myself. Here I am newly single. And I was missing a huge piece of information about myself for 38 years when it comes to attraction, sex, dating, what I like, what I don't like. It really is almost like doing puberty again, right? Because, what do I actually know? It turns out very little. So it's also been eye-opening in those ways. And I appreciate having safety and being able to explore some of those things too.
New York City is just such a great place for like not just queer communities, but kink communities. And especially in Brooklyn, like there's societies and bars and clubs and gyms that like encourage this, and you can like go do like rope play at a gym with a queer community and just things that like Nikki, I don't think they exist in Michigan.
Probably not.
Like
not in this area anyways.
I found my queer community in New York City through the kink community. And I just again, queer liberation includes sexual liberation, and it's
absolutely. And I feel so fortunate that it does exist so strongly here in St. Louis, because I would have never guessed that this was available to me living where I live in the world.
So, to wrap this up, because I feel like we could probably keep talking to you forever, and this has been fascinating.
Likewise, honestly.
I have a couple of final questions.
Sure.
What does Pride Month mean to you? Do you celebrate? If so, how?
It's a good question. This year, Pride Month really kind of snuck up on me. And last year, I think I was still kind of in my imposter syndrome about it all, right? There's this interesting evolution anytime in life you come out, right, where you don't know what you don't know and you don't feel like you belong. You belong, by the way. If you identify as any letter in the alphabet soup, you're one of us. You're part of the Rainbow Mafia, okay? Listeners, like seriously. But what does it mean to me? I don't know. I have a complicated relationship with Pride, especially as things are going right now. I think that Pride Month to me, that's why I loved the opportunity to do this, because I think Pride Month to me is about real action, right? There's so much fluff. And as somebody who is very anti-capitalist and pretty frustrated with the state of the world, I can get pretty despondent about like the state of Pride, the celebration that happens downtown and the 240 corporate tents. Right. But, no visibility is bad visibility, right? And I think I kind of came full circle and realized that I have a friend who is in the questioning phase of baby queerness that I took to a drag show. And drag's not my thing. I joke that I wore drag for 38 years because I did, right? Like, so like I enjoy drag, but I'm not specifically going to seek out and go to a drag show unless I'm being invited for a reason. But I took a friend.
Watch Drag Race. Sorry, we're a big Drag Race household.
I do not. I used to. I do not anymore.
That's okay.
But taking that friend and just seeing and taking and to a bar where I would typically complain that the cishets have taken over, right? Seeing the impact on that person, right? Just seeing just kind of seeing it dawn on them, like, yes, there is like a different way you can live your life, and here it is, like, and it's here for you. Made me appreciate that too. So, I think it's easy to get down on that stuff, but I think it all, to a degree, matters, right? It all matters. No visibility is bad visibility. And yeah, I feel like, other than that, I celebrated Pride by seeing a bunch of Goose shows, because it's been a busy month. So, I am taking my kid to Pride. We are going to go to the downtown Pride.
Nice.
So we'll celebrate that way. The Leather Society I'm involved with has done a few things for Pride, been involved in some of that. And yeah, just I think it's important that it stays. I think it's important that we keep creating that space for people to come and question and find themselves. And that's why when I get a little salty about all the cishet people in the gay bars, it's like, how do I know that, right? I think it's important that we welcome everyone too, because there are, even if you are cishet presenting, even if you are in a heterosexual relationship, and permanently in one, there's room for you to come and question who you are. And even if you come full circle, right? Come full circle and yep, I'm cishet, you will be a better person for having done that and for having spent that amount of time questioning who you are, examining those things for yourself, the same way that those of us who don't have a choice sort of have to. So
what if cishet people come to the queer bars because you have better drinks?
I don't know if we have better drinks. We definitely have stronger drinks.
That's okay too, because sometimes ours suck.
The home bar for the Leather Society that I'm joining, the second time I walked in, no, the third time, I ordered a Manhattan, and then I learned it wasn't that kind of bar. Like, you need to order like this vodka with this mixer, like it's that kind of bar. But the drinks are really strong. They do pour them stiff there, and cheap, which is good because I spent a lot of time there. And if they were pricey, if they were $14 a pop, I'd be broke.
Don't come to New York City.
Yeah, don't go to New York.
Don't do it.
Posted. Oh my goodness, $25 drinks.
Yeah.
Ooh.
All right. So my last question is something we try to ask everyone who comes on the podcast, because we are a femme-focused podcast. Who are your strong female role models?
The women in the jam scene, and I'm not even kidding. I've gotten so much support from women in this scene before, during, and now where I'm at now, and long before I knew anything about being queer. It's just a really special environment. And women have done so much. I said earlier, had I come out 5-10 years ago, I don't know that I would be coming out in this way, in this scene. I don't know that I would feel safe being visible. A lot of that groundwork was laid. Everybody I named, right? Women. So keep on keeping on, Jan women. You all are awesome.
Yes, we are. Woohoo!
Yes. Well, Asher, thank you so much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
This was
our pleasure.
Fantastic. So
yeah. Well, happy Pride. Also, I don't know if we said, but happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Very excited for Pride this month.
And yeah, just thank you.
And now, passing it over to Jess and Nikki to talk to our friend Brian.
Hi everyone, this is Nikki, and I'm here with Jess, and we are having a conversation with my friend Brian. This is for our Pride Month episode. Hi Brian, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Nikki. Hi, guys. Happy Pride. We made it. June 1st.
Woohoo! I know, kind of good timing, isn't it? We
It's
didn't have
great
to
timing.
like lie about it.
Exactly.
So we're going to have a conversation with Brian. Brian is a longtime member of our community. I've known him since high school. It's a long time.
It's a
I'm old.
long time ago, dude. It's a long time ago.
I know. I know. We became friends mainly after high school through music and mutual friends, and we've just kind of been in touch since. You know, when you get older, and you'll see this, Miss Jess, the crap kind of weeds out and the good ones stay. And I'm still in touch with a lot of the good ones, thank goodness. So Brian's one of the good ones. You're a good
Yay,
apple,
thank you.
Brian.
You're a good apple too, Nick. I'm telling you, you're worth keeping around, kiddo.
Thank you. That's so sweet. So we're going to talk about Pride Month as it applies to our community. So we're going to start just right off with, why don't you introduce yourself, Brian? Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you live, your work, your family. Go ahead.
All right. Hey, my name's Brian. I live in San Diego, California, originally from outside of Detroit. I moved here 23 years ago now, which is crazy to me. But I came out here on a contract and thought, where am I going to live, Detroit or San Diego? And that was kind of a no-brainer. I am a nurse practitioner out here, work for a very busy trauma service. And I try to hit as many shows as humanly possible. Which involves a lot of money and a lot of travel, as we all know. And that's one of the landscapes that has changed so very much. I'm sure we'll dive into that later. I'm married. My husband and I have been together 17 years, and this year is our 10-year wedding anniversary.
Woohoo! Happy anniversary.
I know. Thank you. No restraining orders and all in a row. So we're doing good.
Congratulations.
Thanks. And love living in San Diego. Great community here. I live right kind of in the middle of the gay section of town, which is Hillcrest. So there's a lot of good support, a lot of nice people, and always way too much fun to be had.
No such thing.
We've gone down that road, Nikki. We're not going to talk about that right now, but we've had way too much fun.
Yeah, no comment.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start at the beginning. When and how did you get introduced to jam band music?
I went to my first jam band show. I saw the Grateful Dead at Pine Knob in Clarkston, Michigan in June of 1991. So I was a young little boy, a 20-year-old kid, wasn't out yet. I didn't come out until I was 26. Due to family and where I was living, and it just wasn't the most comfortable space for me at that time to come out in. But yeah, I got to see the Dead, and that after the first song, I was like, I'm in it to win it. I got to stick this through and just go. And from that point on, never looked back.
Right on.
Have no idea how many Grateful Dead shows I saw, but I know I saw a lot.
You have no idea?
Same with Fish.
You have no clue.
I have no idea. I think somewhere in the high 60s, low 70s for the Grateful Dead. Jerry Band, I got a couple. I saw a lot of Bobby shows. Fish, I have no clue. I've been seeing Fish since 91 or 92 was my first show. But I haven't kept tabs, but it's got to be a lot. My bank account shows.
Where was your first Fish show?
First Fish show was in Kalamazoo at State Theater.
You were there? I dropped people off at that show, and I'm so mad about it.
Yeah, dude, I was there. Why weren't you there?
It was midterms, and I had to study, and my friends needed a ride. So I was like, yeah, because it's literally like a mile and a half from campus, Jess. And it was like December, maybe?
I think so.
It was cold.
I remember it was like cold and crappy.
It was cold. So I dropped them off, and they were like, you should really come in, Nick. And I was like, nah, I got to study. I can't roll my eyes hard enough at that. But yeah, that was a bummer. I missed that show. But
oh, dude, I missed one of my final exams so I could go to Richfield to see the Grateful Dead, and got a note that I had raging diarrhea from the student health center, and that got me out of my final exam and went to a show instead.
God, I love you.
Always thinking, kiddo.
That's awesome. Yeah, you hit your first Dead show a year before me. I was 92 at the Palace. So,
And I was there too.
where I remember that.
Hmm.
So, you already went into when you came out.
Yeah,
How did that actually happen? Like,
I was done. Yeah. When it finally happened and I started telling my friends, everybody was like, "Oh, that's not a surprise. And why did you wait so long?" I'm like, what do you mean it's not a surprise? But all of my friends were very supportive, 100% behind me. Family was a very different story. That was a really tough thing to get through. Dad didn't speak to me for almost a couple of years. My mom came around after a couple of months of just kind of getting over the shock of the news. It's not that she didn't speak to me, she just didn't have a lot to say.
sure.
And we finally had to have the conversation. I said, listen, Mom, like, I am the same person you have always known. You just know a little something more about me than you did before.
Right.
And I'm sorry you're not going to have grandchildren because I don't like children. Yeah, I'm like, you know, my plan is always just to have dogs and live somewhere else. But yeah, it was not an easy time. But I got through it, and I am so glad I did it because I can't imagine living my life under the covers anymore. Well, not under the covers. That's probably a bad way to put it. Just kind of hiding behind that veil of deception was kind of a no-gamer anymore. Couldn't do it. So I started telling everybody, and told, you remember, Nick, I was in a fraternity in college, and told all the guys that I was still friends with, and they were like, yeah, dude, we kind of knew the whole time, but you're still our buddy. So, and one of my fraternity brothers is like, so you think I'm hot? I'm like, no, I think you're absolutely repulsive. So yeah, that's kind of the long, not Reader's Digest story of how it all unfolded. But one of the best decisions of my life.
I'm glad for you, because being yourself is more important than anything else in this world. And if you can't be comfortable in your own skin, it just makes everything else harder. So I love you like you are. So, and that's never changed.
Thank you. And I have to say, like, going to shows and being in that environment was incredibly uplifting because nobody cared.
No.
Nobody cared. And I remember being approached a few guys at a few different shows, and like, hey, you want to hook up? I'm like, oh no, I can't. I'm not. And they're like, dude, it's okay. You can be who you are here. It's okay. And yeah, it was a great supportive community to let you be yourself with no judgments, no pretense. Everybody was there for one reason, and that was to be around the good people, to listen to the good music, and to dance your fucking ass off.
Amen.
Which is what I did.
And would you say that environment helped you be more comfortable with yourself? Was that like a accelerant to the whole process of you coming out, or it was a combination?
Yeah, I think a combination of a lot of things, but being in that environment where for the first time in my life, I feel like nobody really gave a shit about any of the superfluous stuff. And not that being gay is superfluous. I don't mean that. It's a part of my life. But it definitely did help the process of coming out and being comfortable. And then when I finally did, it was out at shows, and people would ask like, oh, who are you with? And be like, oh, this is my boyfriend. And they're like, oh, that's so awesome, how fun, how many shows you been to? And then it just went on from there. Nobody cared.
Yeah, we care about how many shows and what songs you like. That's it.
Yeah, my husband always says, he's like, oh God, here come more people. Now we get to hear this is their 544th show.
Is he into jam music?
Yes. He kind of has come in kicking and screaming a little bit. He often says most nights, he's like, can we listen to something fucking else other than Fish, Jerry Band, or the Grateful Dead? And I'm like, no, we can't do that. Maybe the Talking Heads I'll give you.
So you control the playlist in the house.
Yeah, but I have to give up the reins every now and then and let him. John is way into the 80s alternative scene.
Oh, that's
kind
not
of
a
like
bad thing, though.
No. I mean, he's 4 years older than me. He grew up here in Southern California, was kind of into like the punk goth scene. But I finally convinced him to go to his first show, and we saw Fish here in San Diego, and we were walking around the lot, and he was like, "This is nuts! Like, what goes on here?" But he got more into the afternoon and into the evening, and then at set break, he looked over at me. He's like, "I get it. I now get it." And he's been to a ton of shows now. Like, we're getting ready to go to Dick's this summer. We're seeing Tedeschi Trucks next week. We're going to go to Vegas to see Dead and Company for one night.
You're going to be so blown away. I cannot wait to hear what your reaction is. I can't wait.
I can't wait. I wanted to go for Fish, but it was just so steep. Like, the tickets, I was like, I can't do this. Because I got locked out of, trying to purchase tickets on the lottery, and then when they went on sale.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, shit, I'm not paying $700. For one night.
I don't think I'd let you.
One of my buddies went, and he said it was absolutely mind-blowing. He loved it.
It was. Jess, Brian was one of the person that was texting me while I was there. He's like, "Are you there?" I'm like, "Yes, I am. I'm going to all 4 shows," and we back and forth sending pictures, because I wish every one of my friends could have been there, because it was just that type of experience where you're like, everyone should see this. It was one of those things. So, speaking about Pride Month, give me what it means to you. What does Pride Month mean to you?
For me, I know it's a time when we can all celebrate exactly how much we are like everybody else, how much gay couples fight as much as straight couples, how much we go through the same ups and downs. And I think it's a good time to get everybody in your community involved in seeing what our community is like. It's just, the parade is such a special day, because it's, the whole city pretty much shuts down for it, and it just turns into Bonkersville. And of course, my condo is right on the parade route.
I've seen your pictures before. I remember that now.
Oh yeah. Believe me, I have seen more lesbian fights off my balcony, and those girls can scrap. I was like, wow, you guys. But overall, though, Pride is just, like I said, it's a time to bring everybody in the city together, just to celebrate that, hey, there's another community living amongst you, and we like to have fun just as much as you do. Right
on. I like that. So how do you participate? What do you do to participate in Pride Month? Or don't you? Because you have Pride all the time. So tell me.
Yeah, it's to be honest with you, when I was younger, I would participate more and kind of do the whole weekend things and do the circuit parties. And now that I'm a little older, I'm like, let's leave town for the weekend. It gets so noisy here. Like, literally, there's 4 clubs right outside of our condo. So during Pride weekend, especially, our walls are like bum chicka bum chicka bum chicka bum. At 2 a.m, you're hearing wee. And then it looks like a bomb went off, and that's when we go outside in the morning to go walk the dogs. You'll see some poor little twink curled up under a tree somewhere. I'm like, oh, sweetie, you had a rough night. But no, I think this year we're actually going to throw a party. Have a brunch thing where people can come over for the parade. Keep pictures of Aperol spritzes flowing all afternoon.
Heck yeah.
And have the AC on, have a clean bathroom people can use, so it's not Porta-Canville. And just invite a mix of people, not just the gay friends, but people from work, some of our neighbors. A lot of our neighbors are gay here. We're as I mentioned, what part of town we're in. But just kind of have everybody over and have some drinks, pop in out of the parade, and then let the games begin.
Amen. That sounds like a good time. I wish I could make it out there. My goodness.
It's really fun. It is really fun.
So, Brian.
Yes.
Would you say the LGBTQ community is strong within the jam scene? Available, hard to find, hidden? Can you give us a little description of what you consider the jam scene's community with that?
Yeah, I think over the years it's become far more acceptable to be out in the jam community. I'm not recanting my previous statement. It's always been very inclusive, comforting, welcoming. But I feel now like that there are like some fellowships you can go hook up with. And like when I went to Fish Mexico, there was like an LGBTQ group that met. And like my husband and I were just, openly like loving up at each other, not making out on the beach, and nobody cared. Everyone's like, oh, how cute you guys are together. Yeah, I don't think it's like a mainstay of the jam community, especially at shows. But I think seeing what I've seen in the change over the 30 plus years I've been doing this, there's a lot more outwardness of it now. And it's a lot more accepting and a lot more publicly viewed, I think. I think our society and culture has changed with LGBTQ plus people over the years. Where it is becoming, it's becoming a topic of conversation on the news. It's in many shows that a lot of people watch. It's on primetime TV, and parents can't really shield their children from it like they did in the 70s when it was a topic. I mean, I remember watching the show Soap when I was a little kid, and it was like the hush no thing about the gay man. But yeah, I think in the jam band community, it's a very welcoming place. And I think that everyone has the ability to express themselves and be who they are without any judgment or pretense.
That's awesome to hear. That's really awesome to hear, because I have noticed more gay couples at like Goose shows, I think, more than Fish or Dead. I've seen so many, and it's awesome because I don't care. Love is love. I don't care who's kissing who. It really doesn't bother me. And I've seen people actually making out that were gay, bi, whatever. I don't know what they were, and I'm like, oh, like when you see people making out at a show, usually that's not the typical thing we see at shows is people making out. That's like club. That's the other band. Yes. But when you see it at a jam band, you're like, oh.
Yeah. Like they're sharing a really special, fun moment. And that's so fun to watch, no matter who it is.
Exactly. I don't care who it is. It's heartwarming, I would say, is the best way to describe it when I see that at a jam show, because I love to see that at a jam show. Usually it's just some dudes. There's dudes everywhere usually. And you're like, oh, but when you see people that are like, truly enjoying the moment and each other, and it's not over the top, it's very sweet scene to behold when you were at one of those shows. So
it is nice to see it. It's just two people and like that have a connection to that song or have a connection to that moment, and they express it. And it is heartwarming to see, no matter who it is.
Right on. I totally agree. So we are trying to incorporate another theme into our Pride Month as we kind of talk about this and talk through it. We're trying to find out how members of our community can advocate for the LGBTQ community. So we're looking for suggestions. So what suggestions do you have for people that can make them more of an advocate for somebody who is LGBTQ?
Even just an ally, any aspect, just showing up, making sure, being inclusive.
Right. I think it's just being present, being aware of who's around you and what's being said. This was probably a couple of years ago. My husband and I were sitting, I think in Chicago, and these dudes were sitting behind us. Like, that dude's such a fag, blah, blah, blah. And, I was like, okay, whatever. He's not directing it at me. It's, I guess guy talk. And it kept going on and on and on. And finally I turned around, I'm like, you guys, hey, come on. Like, this is my husband. Lay off. Like, and then they were very apologetic. They're like, we did not mean to offend you. We're so sorry. I'm like, dude, it's just being sensitive to who's around you. And I think as long as you can like be with your friends, and if you hear anything, see anything that doesn't seem right, feel right, look right, speak up, because we're all in this together. We all go to shows together for that camaraderie and that community and that fun and that love that we all share of the same thing. So I think being able to stand up for yourself and others that might be in an uncomfortable position is probably the best thing you can do in a large group situation like that.
Very good. I love that suggestion, because it is, a lot of people are comfortable using those types of terms within their groups and don't realize that it is offensive, and other terms as well. I mean, it's sad that we're in 2024 and still have to say, you know, you don't use this word and that word anymore because it's just not okay to say those things. But it's an easy thing to speak up. And when was the last time you saw somebody throwing fists at a jam show? Like, it doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen. So as long as you are, you know, saying it in a kind way and coming off from a kind position, I don't think anybody would have a problem with somebody.
Yeah, and you know, I saw I remember this very clearly. It was at the Palace years ago, you know, mid-90s, Grateful Dead show, and this straight couple was getting into a pretty heated altercation, and she slapped him and he slapped her. And a bunch of us got right in the middle and we're like, no. You can't do this to each other. It's time to back away. Let's sort this out. Now, you know, I was, of course, completely sober at the time.
I'm sure.
But it's an example like that. Like, if you see something that's going sideways, step in and help.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we are all in this together, and we are on this little tiny planet spinning around, and we got to help each other get through it.
Yeah, let's try and make it as easy as possible for everyone.
And as fun as possible.
As fun as possible. Exactly.
Especially because I feel like the world has just become so polarized the last couple of years, and there's so much negativity everywhere. That's why I like Pride. Is like, it's a month of just fun and happiness and being who you want to be, however you want to be. And I use it as an excuse to go a little crazy, because why not?
That a girl.
But like, it's just, there's so much just like bullshit happening that it is like a nice fun light, which is kind of how I see like jam shows. Like, I'm not a huge fish girl, but I'm a big goose girl. So when I go to a goose show, I'm like, this is my happiness. This is just a moment where I can be myself and then get lost in the music and hang out with people I love. And I feel like that's really similar to Pride and Pride events, and just the month of June in New York. The world feels a little better, which is what we look for when things have been so shitty lately.
Yeah, and especially, I know this is kind of a female-based podcast, but especially for women, over the last year or two, the rights that are being stripped away, the access to basic things that are being stripped away, and how you guys are you are now property of the state. You've gone from second class, this is just an opinion, but you've gone now from second class to third and fourth class citizens. And it's time that we have to start speaking up and having our female comrades right there with us, because yes, the women are smarter. Oh, I threw that in. That was really clever, I thought.
Very good. A+.
Thank you.
It's true though. Like, this is really important, and
this is going to be remembered in history this time. Somebody's going to look back and be like, oh my God, they took away their rights to have a medical doctor make a decision, or a person make a decision, or have them go through that, because that decision is not easy for anybody, whether it's a medically necessary or a mentally necessary or whatever it has come to. Those types of decisions are not easy, and to take that away from somebody is unreal. It's unreal how far back we've gone in history from that. And they're going to look back once it's returned to us and be like, I can't believe they had to go this many years in the middle of modern day society without that right, and other rights that they're trying to take away as well.
Yeah. Like, it's not just abortion, it's in vitro. I was an in vitro baby. My mom had 3 of us that way. And like, I wouldn't be here without that. And there's so many things where like, I'm feeling very blessed to like be in liberal states and come from families that care about these issues. But there's so many people who are liberal in states where these rights have been taken away, and so many people who don't understand like why we need these rights. And like, as fun as Pride is, it is a time to remind people of why we're here and the fight that it's taken to get here on all sides of the issues. And just, we've come a long way. And I think especially like starting when you guys both started in the jam scene, like the world's changed a lot.
Oh my goodness.
Brian, you were talking about just like on TV, the way things are portrayed, and in like culture and media, but we still have a long way to go. And I feel very blessed that I really only know a world where I've been allowed to be who I want to be.
Mhm.
But I'm young and I'm lucky, and I'm also in the Northeast. And
Yeah, you're in a mecca of blue.
Yeah.
And I mean it is out on the West Coast too. But you know, I think it's important to realize though that those liberal folks who do live in these red and purple states, like they have a lot of voice and they have a lot of pull. And like with anybody who's feeling like their rights are being threatened, they need to speak up.
Right.
Because like I said, we all have to help each other through this. And the polarization that you brought up is so acute right now. And we've lost as a society our ability for polite debate. You can't debate with anybody anymore because it turns into a screaming match and a fight and a fuck you and a I'm right, you're wrong type thing. And it's so sad.
It is.
I don't want to debate people. Like, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
No, what's the
It's
point?
scared to the repercussions just when you have a conversation anymore. It gets so heated and goes from 0 to 100 in 3 words. So you don't want to deal with that. We all have something in common. We're there for the music. That's how I look at going to shows, is that people are there for one common goal, and that is to get off on the music. And that's all we're there for. So there's no better way to bond with people. And at any show I've been to, especially in the hallways when you're passing people, there's compliments thrown everywhere. Guys, girls, and it doesn't matter what you are. That's not what people are looking at. The community as a whole, I've always felt is a welcoming place and a beautiful place to be, no matter who you are or where you come from. So I'm glad that that's somebody in the LGBTQ community can agree with me on that, because that's what I've felt. I'm not any type of LGBTQ. I'm just Nikki, but that's my view on it. And I'm hoping everybody else looks at it the same way. And that's what it feels like. I've not seen any unease on that part of the world. Thank goodness.
Nikki, you're an ally.
I try to be. Like I said, I don't care who you sleep with, but if you got a bad take on Goose, then we got fisticuffs going.
Yeah. Or if you're just a dick, like just don't be a dick. And that goes for men and women both. Like, don't be a dick.
For everyone across the entire world.
100%. It's a good rule of life that we all need to follow.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So let's wrap this up a little bit. But since we are the Femme Flock, we always want to include a strong female role model that was in your life. So who you learned from, who's influenced you, who is your strong female role model?
I have to say, and it's someone you know, Nick, it's my mother. She is an incredibly strong woman, an incredibly intelligent woman. She has given me the tools to, even though when I came out, it was a little hard on her because to her it was a surprise and a shock. That gave me the blessing and the tools to go out and live my life to the best ability that I was able to do to this point, and is still my biggest cheerleader, my biggest ally. I think she loves my husband more than she loves me now. But my mom is a huge advocate for the LGBTQ plus community. She goes, I don't always understand it, but people just need to be who they are. And she's like, I will always be here for you no matter what. So I'm very, very lucky that I have my mom still at this day that I can fall back on and lean on her, even with tough life issues. She's badass. And Nikki, you know that. She is badass.
She's badass.
And I'm lucky to have her.
She's a badass. I've known her since I was in high school.
Yeah, you sure have.
His mom worked at the school. So, and my mom did too for a little while. So they kind of knew each other, and yeah, she's a badass. Love that.
And how about you? Who's your role model, Nick?
Mine is it's partially my mom and my grandmother. More on my grandma's side, just because my mom was a little bit of a flake. Just to put it, she was a little bit of a flake. But I get that from her, so I understand. But I love her to death. But my grandma was Brian knew my grandma. She was a very strong woman. She taught me to speak up for myself. She taught me to not just sit back and let everybody else roll on by, that I counted as well. And she taught me how to speak up for what's right and what's wrong. She taught me how to be my own person. She taught me that it's, how to be kind, but still be direct. Because I was very shy growing up. I was extremely shy until I was in college. And I lived with my grandmother between summers, and grandma taught me how to be vocal, to say the least. But yeah, that's my top tier is my grandma and then my mom.
Your grandma was a badass and one of the sweetest, kindest people.
Yeah, I loved her.
And Jess, how about you?
I have so many. My mom has been like my closest female role model in life. But she and my dad both came from really strong women, pioneers in their respective fields. That was really cool. I didn't know either of them that well, but listening to stories of them growing up, just being women in the 1900s, I'm not jealous. But even aside from that, like Michelle Obama, Rihanna, Beyonce, like there's just so many people I look up to in this world of badass women who do what they want to do and be who they want to be. But I'm also super lucky. I have 7 best friends from kindergarten. We're a little group of girls that are all amazing and smart and successful and beautiful women that I get to speak to every day, and they inspire me every moment of my life. So I'm very lucky to be surrounded by awesome, awesome women in my life.
It's so good to hear. That's awesome.
Yeah.
We are lucky women, that's for sure. To have role models the way we are, a lot of people don't. So
Yeah, that is 100% true.
It's a blessing. I want to thank you for coming on.
Thanks, you guys.
Spending time with us. I'm going to hit end on the record, but we do want to thank you for being part of the Femme Flock, Brian.
Thank you, guys. It was really fun. Really nice to see you, Nick. Nice to meet you, Jess. And I wish you guys the best of luck with this and your platform. It's really exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This pod is made by women for everyone. We wouldn't be here without you, and we want to hear from all of you. Please go to our website, guest fill-in form, DM us on Twitter or Instagram, and let us know what you're up to. We're planning segments to cover it all. Are you starting a new fashion line? Volunteering with the community? Did something in the jam scene change your life? Come tell us about it. We wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't ask you to follow us on all the socials and rate us on your favorite podcast app. Talk to y'all soon. The Femme Flock supports all humans struggling with any and all LGBTQ+ issues. Please know you're not alone. If you or someone you know is in crisis or needs support, the Trevor Project understands the challenges LGBTQ+ young people face and are available for support 24/7. They will listen without judgment. All texts, chats, and calls are confidential, and you can share as little or as much as you'd like. Text the word START to 678-678. Call 866-488-7386 or chat at thetrevorproject.org.